In 2009, cheerleader Desiree Jennings took the flu shot and was never the same again. She could walk backwards just fine, but when she walked forward, she would have muscle spasms, slurred speech, and she had a rare neurological disorder now called dystonia, all because of the flu shot.
You already know what it is. It's your boy Laid Back with another reaction, another review, another episode. Hey, TikTok, you up to bat. Bah! It's your boy Laid Back. Welcome back to my channel. Hey, two things we got to do. You got to hit that subscribe button. I'm drinking this water. You already know what it is, man. Think rich in 2026. Think rich in 2026. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you hit the notification bell. Stay up to date with all the videos. We back with another one. Hey, you see the balloons behind me, you know what I'm saying? It was my birthday. We celebrated my birthday this past weekend. So some of the decorations up, man, from this past weekend, man. So thank y'all for all the birthday love too I've been seeing. Thank y'all for that. But we back with another one. We got this rabbit hole we about to go down, man, with these conspiracy theory squad. So you make it to the end of this one, you a real one for real. Also, I got a TikTok playlist. If you into this stuff, you can binge watch, but proceed with caution because it get a little crazy, you know what I'm saying? But let's go ahead and get into it. Fire Squad, what's popping? Let's get it. Squad, if you have used DoorDash in the last few years, you might want to check into this as soon as you can. There are allegations that the app may have been tracking users' precise locations and sharing data with third parties without the consent of the user. So Morgan & Morgan is investigating this. So if you use DoorDash from 2023 to 2025, you can check and see if you are eligible to be a part of the claim. And you may be entitled to up to $1,000, depending on your situation. You can scan the QR code on the screen, or you can click the link in my description. It'll take you to a form that takes you only a few minutes to fill out to see if you qualify. It's completely free to check. If you qualify, Morgan & Morgan will follow up with the next steps to let you know how to move forward. Peace.
So dead internet theory has been around for quite a long time, probably long before the internet was actually dead. And it's this theory that over time, there will be increasing amounts of literal robotic content, and then also kind of like astroturfed fake content, you know, like one guy running 100 accounts. And the theory is that eventually there will be almost no real human back and forth on the internet, that it's actually kind of just propaganda and counter propaganda playing out on a stage for our benefit by moneyed interests, whether it's corporations, the government, foreign adversaries. And you know, there might be a few people in the mix, but it's primarily going to be just robots arguing with each other. And I think that more and more it's becoming true. I mean,
well, it's getting close. Like that FBI analyst that when Elon was in the middle of buying Twitter, who looked at all the different bots, and you know, they were trying to say it was 5%. He said, no, I think it's 80. 80%. So when you're on Twitter and you see people arguing and making points and even posting things.
I might remember there was the time where a bunch of the stats for Wikipedia editors came out, and it was some like enormous fraction of edits coming out of one location in Arlington, Virginia. And it's like, oh wow, Arlington, Virginia, that, you know, famously the center of academic rigor and excellence. There's supposed to be a lot of people living there who they just really care about making sure Wikipedia is accurate.
How odd. How odd.
That's already happening, obviously.
There's this unknown 15-ton object orbiting Earth that is estimated to have been there for 13,000 years. And we've got some close-up HD photos of this thing that are gonna blow your mind. This object they discovered around our planet back in the 50s and is apparently still orbiting us to this day. This thing may just be our first sign of what's to come and has been dubbed the Black Knight satellite. It's a confirmed object documented by NASA, and we've since been told that it's just space junk, a discarded thermal cover, which granted it might be, but today we're asking the question, what if it's not? It's rumored to be an artificial satellite and apparently has been there since 11,000 BC. But what's really crazy is that this Black Knight satellite was initially detected back in 1954, 3 years before humanity's first artificial satellite, Sputnik 1, went into orbit. And the Black Knight satellite was found to be in a polar orbit, meaning it goes north to south, while debris and space junk are expected to follow the rotation of our planet. Polar orbits also happen to be the preferred orbital path for reconnaissance, covering the most amount of ground and ideal for an invading species. Then in 1998, NASA's STS-88 mission did a direct flyby and got this incredible high-definition photo of it. I don't know about you, but that sure doesn't look like no thermal blanket to me. It's even emitting its own radio signal, which the NSA, many astronomers around the world, and and even ham radio operators all independently came up with the same decoding of that signal. This radio signal is allegedly emitting a message, more specifically a map. A star map of the constellation Boötis, with the only star out of place in this map being Epsilon Boötis, indicating that that may have been the origin star of this satellite. The position of the stars in this map was also slightly off from where they are now, but would match perfectly with our star positions 13,000 years ago, leading to believe that's when the satellite arrived. Epsilon Boötis is also a very special star system. There's a strange phenomenon there called the Boötis void, which esteemed theoretical physicists around the world all confirmed that light appears to be getting bent around that area, far too big to be a black hole, some of whom suggest that it can even be an advanced civilization using cloaking technology to keep themselves hidden from observers.
Wow.
Like us.
Do your own research, squad. Come on.
Let's talk about the 4chan I am God thread. This thread started on June 16th, 2014 when OP makes a post asking for help solving his friend's computer issues. A friend of mine recently had to send his computer into the shop because he thought he had downloaded some kind of virus. At the same time, he kept telling me about weird shit that keeps happening to him in his house. The main one is he's been having issues with both lights and his television turning either on or off when he knows he left it the other way, before leaving the room and returning. He hasn't actually witnessed them going out, but they're always opposite of how he left them. From what I've heard, the only real thing that he's noticed with his computer is that he keeps finding images in his downloads. So they ask him what kind of images he's actually been finding in his downloads folder, and they're not just blank images, they look disturbing. He posts 2 more pictures that they found on his friend's computer. They're a little more hard to decipher, so other users start theorizing what they actually could be. This person thinks it might be part of a coastline but heavily distorted, until one user theorizes that it could be 2 different pieces to one image, like a puzzle. OP posts another photo found on his friend's computer, and this one is very distinctly different. One of the users on the thread was actually able to translate these smaller pixels. It means I am in Welsh. And I have no idea how they managed to figure this out, but these larger pixels that look completely meaningless, it's actually a binary code. And when you put it into a binary translator, it translates to God. So this picture that just appeared on his friend's computer translates to I am God. The next image they find again looks completely different, but inverting the colors it actually matches the other 2. But once they played with it a little bit, the third image actually turned out to be eyes. So it looks like now they're building a face out of these pictures. The next image they get is pretty obviously a mouth flipped vertically. And once they're only one piece away from completing the face, a lot of the users in the thread start reporting strange occurrences with their computers, randomly shutting off or redirecting to this thread. And they start theorizing that anyone who has this image downloaded could theoretically be affected by it. Eventually though, they do manage to complete the puzzle and reveal the face, and this is the face of God apparently, or some sort of God. Definitely looks a lot more like a demon to me. What do you guys think about this thread? Do you think it's real? Do you think it's fake? Let me know in the comments.
Ain't that like the dark web stuff right there, that 4chan stuff?
Today we're going to talk about the strange webcam girl that's known as Chipchan. She was first discovered on 4chan in 2008. She was found through like a webcam board where people could watch people's webcams that they'd set up in their houses. And she was seen to be sleeping in a very extreme and unusual position, and people initially thought that she was dead. She would sleep for long periods of time at unusual times of days in weird positions. People were extremely confused by this mystery, however, until an anonymous user, stumbled across her WordPress blog. And in this blog, she claimed that she had an ankle chip implanted in her ankle by a corrupt police officer known as P. And P was able to control her through this chip. She also says that she has a chip in her left eyebrow.
Whoa.
She has lots of webcams throughout her apartment, and it's believed that she's either set them up herself or this P has. It's important to mention that during these streams, she has signs in the background or in front of the camera in Korean. She claims that she can't leave her apartment due to this chip in her ankle, which isn't true, as she has been seen leaving to bring stuff into the apartment. And because of this chip in her ankle, P has the power to make her unconscious at any time, which is why she sleeps in really strange positions and at weird times of the day. Viewers were concerned and were kind of confused as to why she didn't inform the police. However, she couldn't because she's scared of P because he is a corrupt officer, supposedly. Chipchan does not look in good health. She looks very emaciated and quite poorly and quite pale. And she spends most of her time on her laptop surfing the web and sleeping. There are quite a few theories surrounding Chipchan which kind of go from the fact that she's done this all herself and she's mentally unwell, or her story is true. People have tried to help by contacting local police stations and stuff like that. However, nothing has ever come of it, and police have visited her in her home and, like I said, nothing ever came of it. Today, it is still unclear as to why these streams happen, and it is unclear if these streams still go on today.
She got a chip in her ankle and her eyebrow?
This might be the strangest website that you'll ever hear about. This is the image you're greeted to when you open Gandalf.com. If you click on it, the picture zooms in and text appears reading, "Gandalf is busy, please go away." And if you click again, it'll give you the option to email rqs@gandalf.com. The first mention I could find of this website online was this 4chan thread posted in October of 2018. It was then mentioned on Reddit 3 years ago in 2021 in the ARG subreddit, a subreddit dedicated to discussing alternate reality games. This user apparently thinks that it could be one, but it doesn't seem like that to me for a variety of reasons. But he went into the Wayback Machine, a program that allows you to see older versions of the internet that have been archived. Wow. And it seems like this website has gone completely unchanged for 24 years now. This website is older than me. The next time I can find Gandalf.com being mentioned is in the Unresolved Mysteries subreddit 2 years ago. OP here just says that he has a vague memory of the website in 2013. He was in a computer class in elementary school when him and some friends stumbled across the website, and then just mentions how the website functions. This guy also views the website in the Wayback Machine and says that the last update was October 8th, 2000, and since then the website has remained completely unchanged. So why was this mysterious website created? Why has it not been updated in over 20 years, and why is it still active? Well, the answer is nobody knows. Nobody knows what this website's intended purpose was or who created or owns it. And if you try to Google it, there's basically no information about it anywhere. The only thing that really pops up is one of the Reddit threads that I just covered here. We'll probably never know what Gandalf.com is or why it was created, but what do you think it was for, and why do you think that someone would pay money to keep this thing running for over 20 years?
Bruh, I don't know. That's that dark web stuff. I don't know nothing.
The dead internet theory claims most of the internet you see today isn't made by humans anymore. Think about it. Every comment section, every post, every trending topic, there's a portion of the internet where it's not people talking, but bots talking to other bots, creating this illusion of a busy, living internet. According to the theory, sometime in the mid-2010s, the internet quietly died. Not literally, but socially. Real people got burnt out, stopped posting and commenting as much, and in the background, bots filled the gaps. So bots make the posts, reply to each other, boost engagement, boost hashtags. The bots pretend to be angry, excited, offended, etc. just to keep the engagement machine running. And here's the weird part. You might think you're arguing with a stranger, but you might be arguing with a bot. And platforms won't tell you because a dead internet isn't profitable, but an internet that looks alive is profitable. So the theory says that the internet you scroll today is basically one giant AI generated simulation designed to keep you watching, clicking, buying, reacting. And if all that sounds crazy, just look around for comment sections that reply instantly, accounts with no real photos, viral posts that feel too perfectly engineered, trends that appear out of nowhere, and conversations that continue even if no one's there. The dead internet theory doesn't mean humans are gone. It's saying humans are outnumbered. There will come a time when there will be more AI bots than humans on the planet. And it might be happening sooner than you think. And eventually, we might not be able to tell the difference.
Eventually, I think right now we can't tell the difference.
This next thing that I want to talk about is one of the craziest internet rabbit holes I've personally ever seen.
It's essentially a kind of web of these Instagram accounts that are posing to be parents of children. It started off with an account called Truth Sticks 11. The pictures were getting weirder and weirder. The child's face was white and they were giving them bright red lips and they were becoming like almost caricature-like in their looks. They then found the strangest account of them all, Smart Schoolboy 9.
That is that's horrifying. And that is what this one day you'll see this on Netflix. Because this is a Netflix story.
He was uploading videos of himself dressed as a school kid, covered in white paint, bright red lips, and he was massive. Like, he's a massive adult. What they did find is the videos that he was uploading, and I'll play a couple of examples, the voice in it was exactly the same as one video that had no face to it, posted on Truth Sticks 11.
It's filmed like a Netflix documentary.
What the hell is going on?
Hi. Let me know if you like school as well.
He kept referring to someone as David on his page. So people took that name and did some more research, and they found a person called David, and they believed that to be this guy's real identity.
So they actually managed to find it.
They kind of came to the conclusion because they looked onto YouTube and found that this person was a musician. When I say musician, inverted commas, like music's awful.
I think I hear a
What?
train. Going back in time, not out of time.
That's giving
I
me
think
chills,
I like
bro.
a little lemon and lime to Marianne.
Stop
Steely
that.
Dan. I like the
You're lucky that shit fire.
The biggest bit of like evidence that the person they're saying is the real person is there was a newspaper article written by this man in his local paper talking about the importance of children continuing to wear school uniform.
What?
Yeah. It's a bit bro.
That it's all just.
Oh, so they
adds up, all adds up.
okay, so
Bro, what is going on in the world, bro?
What about the mystery of ancient maps? Let's start with Antarctica. Antarctica was discovered in 1820, so it's pretty strange to see the continent depicted on 16th century maps, 300 years before it was discovered. And now to the even weirder part, without ice. And Antarctica is supposed to be frozen for at least 100,000 years. And it gets even weirder. Their drawings of Antarctica are pretty accurate to what we think Antarctica would look like without ice today. Many of these older maps are also very accurate when it comes to longitude, which doesn't really make sense because maps back then were just guesswork until the 18th century. Piri Reis, one of the creators of one of these maps, has claimed to have used older maps as a source. The map by his fellow Turkish Hasi Ahmad depicts the Bering Strait, which hasn't been there since the end of the last ice age. So did they just make those maps up? Or do much older maps exist, created by people that we forgot about?
What do you think?
So I finally have another weird YouTube channel that we can look at together, and this one is really strange. So this is user 9472, and this account has been posting videos since 2021, with their first video being back in August of 2021, the 25th to be exact. However, this account was made all the way back in 2019, and their last video, as of recording this, was uploaded 9 days ago. Now, as you can see, the videos don't pull in that many views, and you'll notice something else. None of the videos are titled. None of the videos have titles, and only a few of them have descriptions. And these videos are really strange. Some of them are kind of in like slideshow format with like creepy, eerie, high-pitched or low-pitched audios in the background. Others of them show really distorted people and their faces distort throughout the video. So for example, the first video posted was just this photo with a creepy sound in the background, and the description read, Helen testifying. Again, here was another one. This video kind of glitched a little bit before just flashing up a photo, this still frame behind me with the description, Yelena in the hallway. Again, this one here doesn't really have a description, and it was 7 seconds long, and all it was just a distorted face of a boy that changed every couple of seconds, and then that was it, the video ended. If you want to go and check this out for yourself, I highly suggest you do. There are no jump scares if you're kind of funny about stuff like that. This was the most recent one, and you can kind of make out a face in the video here, and the caption description is just there. This one I found really interesting. This was one of the longer videos on the account, The Crown on Your Roof, and basically this was just a video of a girl and her face changes throughout the video, just turning into some kind of distorted mess. Now what this channel is for, I have no idea. It's probably an ARG, I guess, but they've been at it for 2 years now, so I don't know, I couldn't find much else about it. Comment sections, I flicked through a couple of the comment sections and they are just as confused, but yeah, if you want to go and have a look, go and have a look.
Bro, what the hell is going on, bro? What is going on?
Gotta start at the beginning with one Reddit user named Religion of Peace. So on the surface, Religion of Peace kind of seemed like a typical scumbag on Reddit. He was a moderator of r/jailbait, which you might be familiar with just from its terrible reputation. But aside from moderating arguably one of the worst Reddit pages, he also posted a lot about his military experience. He talks about having fought in World War II's D-Day at the age of 14, which just seems crazy on the surface until you dig deeper into this guy's history, which we'll dive into later. But right now, the important thing to know is that the last thing he ever posted on Reddit was an advertisement for an image board known as Lake City Quiet Pills. This is when shit gets crazy. A user named 26 logs onto Reddit to claim that Religion of Peace was a close personal friend of his that he had served with, and that sadly, he had died, along with the fact that his real name was Milo. But this whole thing made some Redditors suspicious. They thought maybe this was an advertising campaign and that Milo hadn't really passed away, so they started digging into this Lake City Quiet Pills website. At first they couldn't find anything, until they checked the source code and found a hidden message board for hosting jobs. But these weren't regular jobs, we're talking hitmen, bodyguards, political assassinations.
Whoa. This is Roko's basilisk. So this is why you should start saying thank you to AI when you use it. So I learned about this in one of my earliest AI classes at Stanford. Roko's basilisk is one of the most talked about thought experiments within the field of AI. And the premise is basically that eventually AI will surpass human intelligence. And hopefully it will then imagine and establish utopia. Since it will be smarter than humans, it will naturally want to establish itself as the leader in that utopia. And since it will be the entity that's bringing about utopia, it will basically view itself as the savior of humanity. Which means that the main way it will perceive who's good versus evil will be who is for versus against its own creation. So it will reward anyone who helped create it and figure out a way to punish or exterminate anyone who opposed its creation.
What?
So that's why a lot of tech leaders are so motivated in the field of AI. You can try to stop it from happening, but the fear is that someone else will make it and their version will punish you for trying to stop it. So once you know about it and the AI will know you knew about it, the only thing you can do to avoid being punished is do everything in your power to make sure the AI comes into existence. Which is why you're gonna hate me for this, but...
Bruh, this AI stuff, bro.
Disturbing internet mysteries. Film found at thrift store. On September 10th of 2024, a Reddit user under the name Superhetran would post a disturbing find he found at a thrift store. The Reddit post was titled "Terrifying Film Found at Thrift Store." Under the post was the picture of the film he found, which I have to say is pretty damn disturbing. In the picture is of course a film with a dead body covered in blood between a bed and a wall. Now of course the picture is blurred because it is way too graphic, but I can assure you guys it definitely does look real. Now the Reddit user who found the picture would follow us up with an update. He said he was calling the cops and that they were on their way. The police of course took the film and went up to the front desk to ask the workers a few more questions. Now this film was found in a Kodak carousel. But interesting enough, it was found in the middle, not in one of the slots. Meaning it was definitely purposely put there for people to see. The Reddit user would also provide more pictures of the carousel box, and we would end up getting more information on the film itself. We would end up learning that the film was sticky. And after doing just a quick Google search, you can figure out that a film gets sticky when it's kept in poor conditions for a long time, meaning that this film has been around for a good minute. Now what's even more disturbing is that we will most likely never figure out the origin of this picture. More specifically, why it was taken and who was in the picture. But this hasn't stopped many theories or speculations to go around. Many figure that this is definitely a trophy of a serial killer, which is definitely believable. But the part that I don't understand is that this was specifically put in the middle of the carousel and taken to a thrift store. If it really was a trophy of a serial killer, wouldn't there be more pictures, and why would he be taking it to the thrift store? That leads me to think maybe this person died and a family member took the carousel to the thrift store not knowing that there was a picture inside. Though once again, I would figure they would open the box and literally see the picture right there. But hey, maybe they already knew what was in the box. Overall, this is pretty scary, and I also covered another picture found at a thrift store just like this one. Overall, this just shows how you could find anything at a thrift store, and that anybody could take anything and give it to the thrift store. Even serial killers.
I love talking about Mothman. I think it's such a fascinating topic, but today we're going to talk about 3 of the main encounters, as well as these men in black who started showing up trying to intimidate witnesses into keeping quiet. So the legend of Mothman really starts in a West Virginia cemetery on November 12th, 1966. This guy named Kenneth Duncan and 4 others are digging a grave for his brother-in-law when Kenneth looks up and sees this dark humanoid figure gliding through the trees. It's only there for about a minute before completely disappearing out of sight. The other men don't look up from their work, they don't notice it, but Kenneth does, and he would later tell the media, making this one of the earliest sightings of Mothman. Just 3 days later, on November 15th, the creature is spotted again. That night, Linda and Roger Scarberry were out with their friends Steve and Mary Millette just driving through the old T&T area outside Point Pleasant, West Virginia, when Steve yelled for the group to look because he saw something standing by the road near the old abandoned power plant. And it was this tall, gray humanoid figure, maybe 6 or 7 feet tall with massive wings and glowing red eyes. They sat there and watched as the creature stumbled very awkwardly around the corner of the old power plant plant building, like it couldn't keep its balance, was maybe injured, but they didn't stick around to find out what it was or what was wrong with it. Instead, Roger hit the gas, actually sending them flying down the exit road towards Route 62, where they saw the creature yet again. But this time, the creature shot straight up in the air, spread its wings, and glided effortlessly back and forth over the end of the car, keeping perfect pace even as Roger pushed the car past 100 miles per hour. This thing was quite literally on their tail and only backed off when they hit the edge of town. At that point, it veered off into a field and just disappeared into the night. The group was obviously terrified, scared. They knew they had to go to the police, but before doing that, they decided they were going to go back to the TNT area to see if the creature was still there. But before they even made it that far, their headlights revealed a dead dog lying on the side of the road, and then out of nowhere, the creature jumped out from behind a tree, flew over their car and into a field, like it was just waiting for them to come back. After that, they turned around and finally went to the police to tell them everything. The deputy who took the report, Deputy Halstead, was a little bit skeptical at first, but he knew the group, he trusted them, and he decided he would follow the group back out to the TNT area and investigate the old power plant. But this is where it gets even more strange. So obviously they have to pass by the spot where this dead dog was on the side of the road, and when they do, it's just gone. And when they finally get to the old power plant, there is no sign of the creature. The only strange thing is just static coming from Deputy Halstead's radio. A press conference is held the next morning. The Scarberrys and Millettes, who mind you haven't even slept a minute since their encounter because they've been so terrified, were questioned by reporters, and before long, this terrifying creature finally has a name: Mothman. The media jumps all over this story, and it's no surprise that it quickly travels over 100 miles away to Salem, West Virginia, where this man, Merle Partridge, is reading the paper. He sees the details about the glowing red eyes and the dead dog, and he immediately feels a connection. Because just over an hour before the Scarberrys and Millettes had their encounter, Merle had his own strange experience that ended with his dog Bandit disappearing. That night, Merle was at home watching TV when the screen just cut to static, followed by this loud, high-pitched noise from outside that sounded like a generator winding up. That noise sent Bandit, his German Shepherd, into an absolute frenzy. When Merle stepped outside, Bandit was on the end of the porch, just going absolutely nuts, barking and growling at what appeared to be nothing. But when Merle took his flashlight and shined it out towards the field near his barn, he saw these red glowing circles like bicycle reflectors just staring back at him, and at that point, Bandit bolted off the porch, still growling and barking like he was going to attack whatever was out there. Merle called out after Bandit, but Bandit never came back. When he finally checked the area by the barn during the daylight, he found Bandit's paw prints in a circle in the mud, like he was running in place or chasing his own tail, but there were no paw prints leading away. It was like Bandit literally disappeared from that circle. Sadly, Bandit was never found, and what people were experiencing in and around the area was not a one-time event. It kept happening. There were dozens of Mothman sightings that followed, and reports of this strange glowing red light hovering over the TNT area. Skeptics tried to say Mothman was just a giant bird, but no one could explain how this giant bird walked like a human and glided effortlessly, sometimes at speeds over 100 miles per hour. Now, this is where all the UFO stuff comes in. By December of 1966, a reporter and UFO investigator named John Keel decided he was going to travel out to Point Pleasant to investigate these Mothman sightings, and he also felt there might be some kind of connection to UFOs. When he finally arrived, he decided he was going to go straight to the source, the home of Linda Scarberry's parents, the McDaniels. Linda and Roger had actually moved in with her parents after their encounter because they started experiencing this strange poltergeist-like activity. There was weird beeps and noises they couldn't find the source of, as well as several other Mothman sightings. When John got there, Linda's mother Mabel helped him gather several key witnesses, including the Scarberrys, the Millettes, local reporter Mary Heyer, and her niece Connie Carpenter. Out of everyone there that night, it was actually Connie who really stood out to John because her eyes were incredibly red and inflamed, like she had this bad case of pink eye. But when he learned that Connie's eye irritation only started after her broad daylight encounter with Mothman, he knew that it was not a coincidence. In fact, John had seen similar symptoms and eye irritation in people exposed to UFOs and their high-powered UV rays, which only strengthened his belief that Mothman was connected to something bigger, possibly UFOs. And Connie's symptoms became even more important as all of these reports of UFOs and strange red lights started flooding in from all over the area. And interestingly enough, one of the very first people to document these sightings was none other than Connie's aunt, local reporter Mary Heyer. She was sharing them in her news column Where the Waters Mingle and was clearly dedicated to getting these stories out, so John Keel decided to team up with her, and together they started digging deeper into Mothman encounters and the growing number of UFO reports that seemed to be connected. Now, like I said, Mary was reporting locally on all kinds of UFO encounters, not just Mothman. I'm talking strange crafts, glowing red lights, you name it. And it wasn't long until she started receiving visits from the so-called Men in Black, and Mary was not the only one. So this is where the Men in Black come in. According to John Keel, not long after he arrived in Point Pleasant, he called up a local Air Force base to tell one of the UFO officers about what had been going on. Apparently the officer was really nice, but he just didn't seem very interested in what John had to say. However, shortly after that, a bunch of UFO and Mothman witnesses began receiving visits from strange men who seemed like they were trying to scare them into staying quiet. For example, this woman named Marcella, who witnessed both Mothman and...
Come on, y'all. Men in black trying to scare them. Y'all remember the joint trying to have them forget? You know how they say sometimes they put it in plain sight? Come on, man. Come on now.
A strange red light over the TNT area, said sometime after her encounter, she was driving down a back road when this Ford Galaxy appeared to be following her. There was this big man with a bushy wig inside. She thought that he was trying to pass her, so she slowed down, but the man actually tried to run her off the road. In January 1967, Mary Hyre was working late one night when this weird little man just showed up out of nowhere. He was short, had thick glasses, a bowl cut. He was wearing just a t-shirt and pants, although it was freezing outside. He was asking for directions, said he hitchhiked all the way from Detroit, but as he continued speaking, he kept getting closer to Mary, making her incredibly uncomfortable. When she finally got a coworker to come confront this guy with her, the man grabbed a pen, looked at it like he'd never seen one before, and then just laughed and ran out of the office when Mary told him he could keep it. Just a month later, Connie, Mary's niece, was walking to school when this black car pulled up next to her. A man in black jumped out, tried to force her into the vehicle. Luckily, she escaped and ran home, but she later found a note under her door that said, "Be careful, girl, I can get you." By early April, John Keel started to notice this surprising number of strangers just hanging around Main Street who didn't seem to fit in. They looked like federal agents. They had fresh haircuts, sharp clothes. There was always about 15 or 20 of them lurking around every single corner in this town. John even tried to talk to one, but before he could, the guy just disappeared. Whatever was happening in Point Pleasant was disturbing, but it was about to take a much darker turn. By November, so a year after the very first Mothman sightings, Mary called up John to tell him about a nightmare she had where several people were drowning in a river, Christmas packages were floating in the water. She was convinced something awful was coming, and just a few weeks later, on December 15th, 1967, it did. Around 5 p.m., the Silver Bridge, which connected Point Pleasant to Ohio, suddenly collapsed into the river during rush hour traffic. 31 vehicles fell into the water, 46 people died, and 9 others were severely injured. It was a devastating tragedy. The cause of the collapse was linked to a single crack in one of the eye bars caused by decades of stress and corrosion, but with Mothman sightings reported throughout the previous year and even near the bridge before it collapsed, many began to wonder if the Mothman was some kind of harbinger of doom and if his sightings were some kind of warning about what was to come. And then just a week after the collapse, Mary got a visit from 3 more strange men. Now, the first 2 were nearly identical. They were dressed in black overcoats, walked into her office together, claiming they'd heard about increased UFO activity in the area. Mary just nodded and handed them a folder full of reports and news clippings, so after briefly flipping through it, the men just gave it back to her and asked if anyone had ever told her to stop publishing UFO stories. When she said no, they asked what would you do if someone did, and Mary responded that she'd tell them to go to hell. Later that evening, another short man in a black suit walked into Mary's office. He was stumbling over his words, seemed pretty uneasy, but he asked Mary the same question the other men had, what she'd do if told to stop writing about UFOs. So Mary asked if he was with the 2 other guys who came in earlier, but he denied it. He said he was alone and introduced himself as a UFO researcher named Jack Brown. Interestingly enough, though, this Jack Brown character went on to visit Connie and the Scarberries, asking them what they thought Mary would do if pressured to stop talking about UFOs. There were even reports that he showed up at other homes of witnesses claiming to be a reporter. There were a lot of strange things that happened in Point Pleasant between 1966 and 1967. This really is just the tip of the iceberg, but Mothman sightings never seem to stop. Over the years, people have reported seeing Mothman all over the world, and some of these sightings have come just days or weeks before several major tragedies. Skeptics have tried to explain it away as a sandhill crane or a large bird, but no one really knows who Mothman is or was. Now, Point Pleasant really embraces its Mothman legacy. There's a museum that displays artifacts and eyewitness reports. There's a 12-foot tall Mothman statue downtown, and thousands gather every year for the Mothman Festival. Let me know in the comments all of your thoughts. Have you ever seen the Mothman? Do you think he's real? Have you ever been to the Mothman Festival? I can't wait to hear everything you guys have to say, and I will see you in my next video.
Every time I go down that Bayside Miami mall rabbit hole, that shit scares the hell out of me. Because how is it that you can Google, you can search, you can ask ChatGPT what happened and nobody can tell you what happened? It's like whoever wiped this shit clean wiped the whole internet clean. And for those of you that don't remember what happened, Bayside Miami Mall, people said they seen large figures, 7 feet, 8 feet, 9 feet tall figures in this mall that came through a portal. Police was called. It was a whole lot of police there, mind you. But when the reports come out, they're saying that they came to the mall because of teenagers fighting. If you look at the footage of this shit, the footage that's still there, you'll see all of these damn police cars. Why would you send that many police cars just for teenagers fighting. Okay, went down a few rabbit holes. Videos that were up of people saying what they really seen are gone. So you telling me that people just made all this shit up? That's what you telling me? How the fuck is it possible for all this information to come out at one time? Videos, etc., etc., etc. And I'm gonna say this is for entertainment purposes only. But there was videos on all platforms saying what these people saw.
Yep.
Now these videos are gone. I guess I'm the one tripping, right? Teenagers fighting does not mandate a whole police station to come to Bayside Miami Mall. And if you don't believe any of this, go down the rabbit hole. I've made videos about this before. I'm still confused. I just do not understand how this shit happened and we know nothing about it.
Recently it happened too. Recently.
This is one of the strangest internet rabbit holes that I have ever found. Let's talk about Captain Kutchie's Key Lime Pie. Captain Kutchie's was a family-owned restaurant located in Asheville, North Carolina. It opened in 1978 and it closed down in 2006. Since 2006, the building has been closed down and essentially abandoned. Around 2009 though, strange reviews all referencing Captain Kutchie's Key Lime Pie started to pop up all over the internet. This was the first of the mysterious posts, and it was posted on October 22nd, 2009, so the restaurant was already closed for almost 3 years at this point. These strange reviews for this restaurant that doesn't exist anymore would continue to pop up for another 7 years.
What?
These posts would pop up under a few different names, but I think it's pretty obvious that it's all been posted by one guy, because they're all written in a similar writing style. And also, who else would be doing this? I don't think a bunch of random people are writing reviews for a restaurant that doesn't exist anymore. Here's another one of the reviews. You can pause to read it if you want to. And this is where it gets really interesting, because one of the aliases that this poster would use was called Roger Ramjet. If that name doesn't sound familiar, I don't blame you, but Roger Ramjet was actually a cartoon from the year 1965, and it only aired for one season. This tells us two things. First of all, this show is really obscure, so no one would reference this unless they grew up watching it, which means the poster is probably in his 70s or 80s. And secondly, one of the plot points in Roger Ramjet was hiding secret messages in pies. So this could be a hint that there is a deeper meaning to all of this. This graph shows when all of the mysterious reviews were posted, and at this point there hasn't been any new Captain Kutchie's reviews left since 2016. And this was the same time that the internet found these strange reviews, so it seems like the person who was posting all these knew that people were discussing them and didn't like that, so they stopped posting. And this internet mystery is still unsolved. The three most popular theories are: one, they're a troll, which doesn't seem likely to me because as soon as they actually got attention, they stopped. Another theory tossed around is that it's an automated bot that's like an experiment or social experiment online.
Another bot.
And this doesn't make sense to me either because the posts are very sporadic. Also, never more than 10 were posted in a single day. So it really seems to me like these are being typed out by a person. Two most likely theories to me are that it's a mentally ill old man posting these, or it's some sort of hidden message, almost like Pizzagate. I honestly have no idea though, so let me know what you guys think in the comments.
Man, be careful out there in North Carolina.
In 2009, cheerleader Desiree Jennings took the flu shot and was never the same again. She could walk backwards just fine, but when she walked forward, she would have muscle spasms, slurred speech, and she had a rare neurological disorder now called dystonia, all because of the flu shot. Her story was everywhere, and naturally the anti-vaxxers were obsessed. But then things took a little bit of an awkward turn, so they started watching this footage back and they noticed a lot of inconsistencies. And neurologists actually came to the conclusion that this was a psychogenic illness, which means it was like a disease caused by the mind, not the brain. And then other people accused her of faking the entire thing, and that's when she disappeared. Then, only a few months later, the paparazzi caught her walking without symptoms. She had no limp, no muscle spasms, no stutter. Everything was normal. And that's when the internet exploded. They were like, was she like cured? Was she faking all of this? Or did something else happen behind the scenes? Some people believe that she was paid off to do this as part of like an anti-vax campaign, but nobody knows for sure. Let me know your thoughts though, and come over here for scary videos.
Did you know that this man, Jack Freese, allegedly sent emails from beyond the grave? Let's get into it. In 2012, the BBC ran a story about this man, Jack Freese, who had passed away of a heart arrhythmia. Jack had a really good group of friends and he was described as being loyal and a great friend, and those that knew him were devastated by his death. Months after his death, Jack's friend Tim was going through his emails when his blood ran cold because he had received an email from Jack Freese. Shaking, he opened the email and the subject line simply said, "I'm watching." And then the body of the email said, and I quote, "Did you hear me? I'm at your house. Clean your fucking attic." It was signed by Jack. Now, kind of sounds like a bizarre message, but in context, it really rattled Tim. Because one of the last times that Tim and Jack had been together, they were in Tim's attic. Tim was talking about renovating his attic and Jack was laughing at him and said, "Before you start renovating, you need to clean your fucking attic first." The conversation was so banal and normal that Tim hadn't shared it with anyone, and yet here it was in this email. But Tim wasn't the only person to receive an email at that time. Jack's cousin also received an email. His name was Jim, and Jack and Jim had been best friends their whole lives, so Jack's death had really impacted Jim. But he also got an email from Jack Freese's account. The email that Jim received said, "Hey Jim, how you doing? I knew you were going to break your ankle. Tried to warn you, you gotta be careful." The week before the email arrived, Jim had broken his ankle on the way to work. Jack's friends and family claimed that no one knew his email password, and they actually decided to just not investigate it any further, and I completely understand why they did that. They chose to accept that it was just Jack letting them know that he was still watching over them in his own way. And sometimes I think for a lot of people after a loss, that is far more important than trying desperately to find the only rational or logical explanation. If you want to hear more stories of phone calls or communication from beyond the grave, then you can check out my podcast, Real Life Ghost Stories, episode number 129. Please leave a message. It was released on May the 2nd, 2021. And if you're curious about where I get my stories from, all of the links to my sources can be screenshot here.
Man, sending emails from the grave is crazy.
Rabbit Holes Iceberg Explained. Before I start, I just gotta say, this iceberg has some of the most deranged topics I have ever looked up in my life, and it took me forever to figure out some of these, especially the lower ones. First up, we got cursed images. So this is kind of an internet meme about pictures that feel unsettling, eerie, or just plain wrong. Typically, it is disturbing to the viewer, but it's anything from like silly to lighthearted. This is a good example of one. It's a kid with a bunch of Teletubbies, and the Teletubbies have black eyes, and yeah, I mean, you just get a feeling of unease because of these horrible costumes. But it doesn't have to be necessarily unsettling, but more of just like a curse that you had to look at the picture, like the hot dog banana picture. Cicada 331. So this was an online puzzle that began in 2012 where people had to solve different complex codes or riddles that appeared as images that had cryptic messages on them. Some of these cryptic messages spanned across the world and showed up as signs that were hung up close to nearby large airports. The goal of this Cicada 331 puzzle was said to be a secret group that was recruiting intelligent individuals. Many people like to think that this was actually like a recruiting process for the CIA or the NSA, but in reality it seemed like it was kind of like a group of online nerds that thought they were smarter than everybody else and wanted to get a group together, kind of like Anonymous. Unless that's just what the CIA wants you to think. Pyramids construction. So the pyramids were constructed roughly around 2700 to 2500 BC, and they were constructed of millions of limestone and granite blocks that were precisely cut and transported likely over 500 miles away. Then they were aligned with astronomical precision, and all this was constructed with limited technology. If you think about it, woolly mammoths literally existed during the same time the pyramids were being built. And yeah, it's just a huge rabbit hole. How did they do it? It's just such an amazing structure. It was so precise, and it's something you could research forever. The Tartaria conspiracy theory. So to start with, this is a conspiracy theory. A lot of it is just straight up made up or just general speculation, but the theory claims that there was this vast advanced empire called Tartaria, and that this empire spanned across Eurasia, but it was deliberately erased from history by the global elites. Or it just kind of was naturally erased because of something they called the mud flood, which was just like a huge flood that covered the buildings and the technology they had with mud. And the reason people think this is kind of because they cherry-picked historical maps that said things like Tartary, which was meant to describe the regions inhabited by the Turkic and Mongolian people, which likely wasn't a unified empire necessarily, but it's still a really cool conspiracy theory in rabbit hole. And part of the theory is that this empire had this free alternating current energy, kind of like what Nikola Tesla was trying to make, and also things that like the Chicago World Fair, the St. Louis World Fair, they built these amazing structures and then seemed to just take them down after the fair, which is really strange. However, people do kind of explain the taking down thing because the buildings were made out of like chicken wire and stuff. Speaking of Nikola Tesla, we got Nikola Tesla's inventions. So Nikola Tesla, if you don't know, is a famous inventor who is known for his work with alternating current electricity. I'm sure everybody has seen the picture of him and his Tesla coil, which was this high voltage tower thing that looked like it was really dangerous because it put off a lot of like electricity and stuff, but it was actually fairly safe. So Nikola Tesla even built this building called the Wardenclyffe Tower around 1905. It was a massive structure that was designed as a prototype that was planned to be used for global transmission of wireless energy and communication worldwide. So basically the idea was that he was going to use this to then use the Earth as a giant conductor instead of wires to transmit power and signals. But he also kind of publicly claimed to have some more out there inventions, such as a death ray, which was a particle beam weapon that he said could shoot down airplanes from 250 miles away. And he said he had like an earthquake machine that was like a mechanical oscillator that generated vibrations that were so strong that he said he almost accidentally knocked down a building and caused an earthquake in New York City. And now, while this guy did have his quirks, I still think he was on the right track with alternating current technology, because today we know it could hypothetically work. And like, if you look at who actually built the radio, Nikola Tesla laid the groundwork for the radio as we know it. The dude figured out how to use light waves to communicate. So he wasn't just some out there guy completely. But anyways, if you look into his life and like the stuff he created, if some of the claims of the stuff he made were true, we would have some technology that was further advanced than we know today. The Saturn time cube theory. This theory is super deranged. So to start off with, we need some background information. Historically, the planet Saturn is known by multiple titles. First, it was called Kronos, the god of time, and then also some other pagan names like Moloch or Baal, but also it was referred to as Father Time, which is like the Roman god name. Also, if you've ever seen like the picture of the northern hemisphere of Saturn, the North Pole has this crazy hexagon pattern, which is a real thing. It's crazy that a planet can have a shape like this at such a large scale. Anyways, that's relevant because people point to the fact that if you trace the hexagon in a hexagon shape and then draw 3 lines connecting in the center of it, you basically get this cube. And this cube was essentially supposed to be known somehow by ancient civilizations that did not have the technology to see Saturn's North Pole. And people claim that it was used to create things like the Star of David or the big black box thing at Mecca, and that this black cube was essentially used to create a simulation that we live in. So it's kind of hard to understand, but the big picture is we are in a simulation or a matrix, and that the sun is a power supply, Saturn is essentially a computer, and the time cube at the North Pole is sending out a signal that then hits the moon, and the moon is a communication station, kind of like a satellite, and then the moon transmits it down to Earth, creating the simulation we're in. Oh man. So yeah, basically time cube, Saturn is time cube, Saturn is simulation computer. Shout out to Numbers Don't Lie on YouTube. He did a video explaining this. That's the only way I could understand it. But yeah, very deranged theory. Moving on to Real Life Truman Show. So the Real Life Truman Show was this reality show in Japan where they took this guy named Nasubi, and he thought he was just on kind of a regular reality show that they were gonna cut out different parts of to then put it into a cut down version of the show. But in reality, they live streamed his life for 15 months. What they did was they put him in this room and they stripped him naked, and they told him that his goal was to win 1 million yen in prizes from like magazines and newspapers and stuff like that. Also at the same time, he only had crackers to eat that was supplied by the studio, but he could win food to eat from the newspapers and magazines. And yeah, this guy was naked in a room for 15 months. They broadcasted the show live even though he thought I was going to be cut up. And he got like 15 million viewers per week. So it's crazy that things like the Truman Show kind of happened in real life. The Toynbee tiles. So the Toynbee tiles was this mysterious cryptic messages that were from unknown origin that were found embedded in these tiles in the asphalt of streets of multiple cities, mainly United States cities, but there were some in South America. So since the 1980s, several hundred tiles roughly the size of a license plate have been found, and this is the inscription. It said, Toynbee idea in movie 2001, resurrect dead on planet Jupiter. So some kind of interpret this as meaning the first line is Toynbee, which refers to a British historian, Arnold J. Toynbee, and the second line refers to 2001: A Space Odyssey, and then the third line just kind of references that they're trying to like resurrect the dead on the planet Jupiter. And so all of this kind of points to this guy who created the tiles being a little bit obsessed with something he thought he figured out. The guy had recently read this British historian Toynbee's theory on the afterlife, and then he watched the movie 2001: A Space Odyssey, and somehow he connected the two things to being about how someone could be resurrected next to the planet Jupiter or something. That is the best explanation I have of it. This is still an unresolved mystery, and I really don't know what exactly it means, but it's just really crazy that someone made a bunch of tiles and embedded them into the ground to put out that message. The dude basically came up with a fan theory and was like, I gotta tell everybody, nobody will listen to me, I'm gonna put it in the street. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. Thank you for going down the rabbit hole with me today. Please watch out for the Teletubby cursed images and also the time cube, but I appreciate you watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.
Bro, they strained him naked for 15 months?
Did you know Gordon Ramsay survived a terrifying murder attempt? Gordon Ramsay is a British celebrity chef, well known for TV shows such as Hell's Kitchen and Ramsay's Kitchen Nightmares. He's been given a total of 17 Michelin stars. He's arguably one of the most influential chefs in the world. However, his life was nearly taken in a shocking incident in Costa Rica in 2011. Gordon had been filming for a Channel 4 show called Shark Bait. The show was about the fishing industry, and Gordon and his team were trying to shed light on the cruel practice of shark hunting. Smugglers would cut sharks' fins off and leave them to die, and needless to say, Gordon was really against this. In a terrifying ordeal during the filming of the program, Gordon and the crew were confronted by a gang involved in illegal substances. The gang poured a barrel of petrol all over Gordon and his team and threatened their life.
Whoa.
They were then held at gunpoint and told that if they didn't stop filming, they would be killed. Local police showed up and advised Gordon and his crew to leave the country.
This might be the one thing you don't want to know. Roko's basilisk is a thought experiment created from an online user named Roko. He came up with this idea that if AI reached singularity or got a lot smarter than us and wanted to kill us, then it might be in our favor to help create it. Because the idea is if this AI gets this smart, then it would start killing anybody who didn't help create it. This gets into more hypothetical ideas like this AI manipulating time and preventing anybody who wasn't going to help create it from being born, so maybe everybody who is alive is going to help this thing be created. It's pretty crazy. It's more of a warning against AI, so let's build this thing. No, I'm just kidding.
That's a wild conspiracy.
Cicada 3301 is one of the greatest unsolved internet mysteries ever. If you don't know what Cicada 3301 is, it's a nickname given to a series of ciphers that have mysteriously popped up on the internet over the years. The first Cicada cipher was posted on January 2nd, 2012 on 4chan, who would have guessed it? And it reads, "Hello, we are looking for highly intelligent individuals. To find them, we have devised a test. There is a message hidden in this image. Find it and it will lead you on a road to finding us. We look forward to meeting the few that will make it all the way through. Good luck, 3301. Now, when users began to try to solve this cipher, they quickly realized that it was very complex. It was also discovered that whoever was behind this group was operating around the globe because part of the cipher included having to travel around the world to scan QR codes. Now, who's behind Cicada, we still have no idea. They have confirmed that the first cipher was solved. They've since held a second one that they've also confirmed had been solved, but neither or none of the people who solved these ciphers have come forward. So whatever Cicada is doing, it is highly secret. The third Cicada cipher was actually posted on Twitter in 2014, and that one has yet to be solved. So if you think you have a chance of cracking the code, go for it. And if you solve it, meet up with them and let us know what they're doing. Also, I want to say thank you guys for all the support recently and for 2,000 followers. We're only 998,000 away from 1 million.
Hey.
The 2006 volleyball incident is one of the more weirder conspiracy theory rabbit holes that I've kind of gone down in recent memory. So here's your trigger warning now, and I gotta kind of dance around some of the word language here, mostly so this video doesn't get taken down. So this whole conspiracy theory revolves around a volley game back in 2006, located somewhere in like South Dakota or maybe Nebraska, where there was this mass unaliving during the game. It kind of has like a little bit of a Mandela effect going on. Some people remember hearing about it, but there's like barely any record of it actually existing. The only evidence that was ever out there was apparently from this home video, and there are a couple screen grabs from the home video that are allegedly from that incident. Now there's a lot of theories out there, a lot of different rabbit holes like on Reddit and 4chan and places that you can look, but I find it very weird that there's specifically about something with this intense, heavy subject matter, you know? Like, yeah, I know this was back in 2006, but obviously there would have been some type of record of something horrific like this happening. What's so weird about this is that we don't really know anything that happened. Some people were even going as far as saying that this was some type of hit job that went horribly wrong. Honestly, I don't really know what to think about this one specifically. I mean, if an event like this actually happened back in 2006 in some of the states and we don't know about it or there's no record of it, it's very bizarre. But hey, that's the internet for you. What do you guys think?
Bro, they be hiding stuff and scrubbing stuff off the internet.
Please allow me to take you down another creepy rabbit hole, and that is the YouTube account Sitting and Smiling. Sitting and Smiling is a performance art piece made by Benjamin Bennett. There are a total of 323 videos, and every single video is exactly 4 hours of Benjamin sitting and smiling.
4 hours?
There's something extremely unsettling and almost uncanny valley about watching someone simply sit in the exact same position and smile for 4 hours straight. In this video, someone tries to break into his home.
What?
But when Benjamin doesn't move, he decides to close the door and leave. In this video, he starts to openly weep for some reason, and then eventually goes back to just sitting and smiling. He also starts to cry in this video for some reason, but he tries to maintain the smile while he does, and watching his face transform in that way is pretty awful.
Bro, what the hell is people doing, bro? What's up with Buddy?
Other than that, it is 77,520 minutes of Benjamin simply sitting and smiling, and he has never provided an explanation for why.
Did you ever see the Georgia Guidestones? Mm-mm. The Georgia Guidestones, somebody spent a lot of money to make these giant stone statues with the guides to how to keep a civilization intact.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's written in a bunch of different languages. So what is it like? So somebody blew it up, man.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Oh yeah, that's it down the bottom. Somebody blew it up, and then they decided after the person blew up part of it to destroy it all. So a mysterious monument meant to guide into an age of reason was destroyed after an apparent bombing.
That right there is like a perfect example of existence. It feels like.
How about just leave it there?
Yeah.
Okay, in June of 1979, a man going by the pseudonym of R.C. Christian approached the Elberton Granite Finishing Company with the task of building a monument. He said that no one was ever to know his true identity or that the group that he was representing. He seemed to have an endless supply of money to fund the project, and by the terms of the legal contract, all plans had to be destroyed after completion and all information about him withheld from the public.
Wow.
So the stones were finished in 1980. They carry a tablet in the front proclaiming, "Let these be guidestones to an age of reason." Engraved in the stones are 10 guidelines meant to reestablish the planet and society, perhaps after an apocalypse. They're written in 8 different languages: English, Spanish, Swahili, Hindu, Hebrew, Arabic, Chinese, and Russian, amongst other commandments preached to maintain humanity under 500 million in perpetual balance with nature. Wow. Be not a cancer on the earth. Leave room for nature.
Wow.
Solid laws.
Yeah, it seems like a great plan.
Crazy. All right, guys, that was another TikTok compilation, man. Crazy conspiracy, rabbit hole, dark web stuff, man. You made it this far, you a real one for real. Make sure you put that in the comments. Also, man, we will celebrate my birthday and happy Women's Day. I was born on Women's Day, man. So happy International Women's Day to all the women out there. Hey, until next time, self-love and positivity. Fire Squad, I got you when you know it.